My name is Linda Morris, I'm 33 years old, and 3 weeks before Christmas, my brother called me with 5 words that made my stomach drop. Stay home this Christmas. I actually laughed because I thought he was kidding, but then I heard the silence on the other end, the kind that tells you somebody has already made a decision without you. What do you mean? I asked. He sighed and said, we're keeping Christmas family only this year. Family only? Seriously? I was his sister, not some random neighbor, and I had spent the last 6 Christmases helping him, his wife, and their kids make every holiday look perfect. I didn't argue. I just said, okay, and hung up. But here's the thing my brother didn't know. That same night, sitting alone in my apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina, I opened my laptop and booked a 7-night luxury Caribbean cruise leaving from Miami on December 23rd. Balcony suite, ocean view, fancy dinners, the whole deal. No way was I spending Christmas begging for a chair at my own family's table. I remember staring at the confirmation screen and whispering, guess what, Mark? You just gave me the best Christmas excuse I've ever had. But the cruise wasn't really the shocking part. What happened after my brother discovered where I would actually be spending Christmas was something I never could have predicted. And when he called me again, his voice sounded completely different. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't smug anymore. He was scared. He actually begged me to come back. But before I tell you why, you need to understand what I had been doing for my family long before that phone call, because once you know the truth, his 5 words will hit completely differently. For years, my family had treated me like the person who would always show up no matter what. My brother Mark had 2 kids, a demanding job in Raleigh, and a wife named Emily who somehow turned every holiday into a military operation, and I was always the one they called when something went wrong. Need someone to pick up the kids? Call Linda. Need a last-minute Christmas cake? Linda. Need someone to drive across town because Mark forgot the gifts at the store? Somehow it was always me. And I never complained because I loved those kids more than I could explain. But there was something they had no idea about, something I had kept completely private for almost 4 years. After my divorce, I had started putting money into a savings account I called my future. And instead of spending it on myself, I quietly used part of it whenever my family needed help. School fees, medical bills, repairs, even the deposit for the house Mark lived in now. I never told him how much I had contributed because I didn't want gratitude to become a debt between us. Then 2 weeks before Christmas, I noticed something strange. My mother posted a picture in our family group chat showing Mark, Emily, and the kids decorating their living room. Everyone was smiling, but when I looked closer, I saw something that made my chest tighten. There were 5 stockings hanging over the fireplace, not 6. Mine was gone. I zoomed in, thinking maybe it had been moved, but no. It had disappeared. I texted Mom privately and asked if everything was okay. She replied almost immediately, "Don't make this a big deal, honey. Mark just wants a quieter Christmas." That sentence bothered me more than my brother's original call. A quieter Christmas? What did that even mean? Then the next morning I got a message from Emily by mistake. It was only 3 words. Did she know? She deleted it seconds later, but I had already seen it. I stared at my phone, completely frozen. Did she know what? And why did they sound like they were hiding something from me? That was the moment I realized Christmas wasn't really the reason they wanted me gone. Something had been happening behind my back, and somehow I was the last person to find out. The next morning I called Emily and asked her directly what she meant by that deleted message, but she immediately changed the subject and said she had no idea what I was talking about. "Come on, Linda, you probably misread it," she said, laughing nervously. I didn't believe her for a second. That afternoon, I drove to my mother's house in Asheville, North Carolina, because I needed answers before I boarded that cruise. Mom opened the door wearing the same Christmas sweater she had worn every December since Dad died. And the second she saw my face, she knew I wasn't there to exchange cookies. I asked her if Mark had been talking about me behind my back. She looked away and whispered, "He's just under a lot of pressure." Pressure? That word made my blood run cold. I asked her what kind of pressure could possibly make my own brother erase me from Christmas. She finally admitted that Mark had been having serious money problems for months. His company had cut his hours, Emily had been spending heavily on renovations, and they were behind on several payments. Then Mom said something that completely stopped me. "Mark thought you might help again." I stared at her. Again. She nodded. Apparently, my brother had been planning to ask me for another large loan during Christmas dinner, but after he realized I had started saying no to his smaller requests, he decided it would be easier to make Christmas parents and kids only. I almost laughed because the cruelty was so ridiculous. They weren't excluding me because I was unwanted. They were excluding me because they wanted to control the moment when they asked for money. Then Mom handed me a folder she had been keeping for Mark. Inside were overdue notices, renovation bills, and a bank letter with one number circled in red: $48,000. I felt my hands go cold. He owes this much? I asked. Mom nodded. And he thinks you can save him. That was when everything clicked. The missing stocking. Emily's deleted message. The sudden family-only Christmas. It had all been planned. My brother didn't want me at Christmas because he wanted to corner me into paying for a financial disaster he had created. I drove home in silence, parked outside my apartment, and opened my cruise confirmation again. For the first time I smiled. Mark had no idea what was waiting for him on Christmas morning. And this time I wasn't going to rescue him. I boarded the cruise 2 days later and left every family argument behind me, at least for a little while. On Christmas morning I stood on my balcony with the ocean stretching forever in front of me, and for the first time in years, I felt completely free. I posted one picture with a simple caption: "Merry Christmas from somewhere I'm finally wanted." I didn't mention Mark, the $48,000 debt, or the reason I had left. But within 20 minutes my phone started exploding. Mark called first. "Linda, where are you?" His voice sounded panicked. I calmly told him I was on a cruise. There was a long silence, and then he said the words I never expected to hear. "Please come back." I almost laughed. 3 days earlier I wasn't even welcome at Christmas. Now my brother was begging me to return. I asked him why, and he finally confessed that the bank had rejected his refinancing application. The $48,000 debt had become urgent, and without my help, he could lose the house. Then he said something even worse. He had assumed I would feel guilty enough on Christmas morning to hand him the money. I sat on that balcony listening to him explain the plan, and suddenly every piece of the puzzle made sense. The exclusion wasn't punishment. It was manipulation. They wanted me isolated enough to pressure me, and they thought I would still be the same Linda who always fixed everything. I told Mark, "I love you, but I'm not your emergency fund." He started crying and said he was sorry. I believed he was scared, but fear doesn't erase consequences. I told him I would help him find a financial counselor, but I would not give him the $48,000. Then I did something that shocked even me. I turned my phone off. No arguments. No guilt. No begging. Just silence. When the ship reached Miami, I didn't go to my mother's house. I went home, unpacked my suitcase, and opened the savings account I had once called my future. For the first time, I used the money exactly as I had originally intended. I put a down payment on a small condo near the beach. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't extravagant. But it belonged to me. Months later, Mark sold the house, paid his debts, and started rebuilding his life without using me as a safety net. He apologized again, this time without asking for anything. Our relationship didn't magically become perfect, but something finally changed. I stopped measuring my place in my family by how much I could sacrifice. And every Christmas after that, I remembered the sentence that started everything: "Stay home this Christmas." My brother thought he was sending me away. He didn't realize he was giving me permission to finally choose myself.